color indicates severe thunderstorm warning. That's where we have the damaging wind as well as the hail threat. And we've clocked some pretty strong wind too. I'll show you that in just a second. But you can see now it's a severe thunderstorm warning on the southern end of that line, and that line barreling here into western North Carolina. The mountains will help to tear it up. That often does happen, but a lot of lightning strikes, especially this cluster with the tornado warning that's happening in Clay and Cherokee counties right now. We've been also watching in our northern mountains, taking a look at some of this strong wind. See the bright red here. This is where we've got velocities, wind speeds at about 59 miles per hour. So this is enough to knock over trees from Crabtree up toward Walnut and possibly toward Waynesville as well as this continues to make its way through. So again, we've got a dangerous situation overnight as these storms continue to roll through. You can see in the upstate though, right now we're not seeing any major activity at this point, but we are beginning to see a few cells flare up ahead of that main line. And you can kind of see that here. I'm going to zoom into those. Around Cashers over towards Salem, and then we also have north of Pickens. And then again, Cherokee County, North Carolina, as well as Clay County in North Carolina is a tornado warning right now, and we're continuing to watch that as it moves into our counties like Macon County, which is not under tornado warning yet, but severe thunderstorm warning there for Bryson City as well as Waynesville. And this line is going to continue to push toward the south. So Asheville, you'll be next in line for some of the potential severe winds with this. As we go through the overnight, damaging and wind and hail will be the main threats, but we do have that threat for a tornado, just like we're seeing on those periphery counties right now. Cherokee, Clay County is where we're seeing that tornado warning, and that's going to continue to bring at least the potential into our mountain counties. So we're watching it closely, and then heavy rain will also be a threat. Here's how the timing plays out. 2 to 6 a.m. will be the busiest times. This is just getting into our area. For those of you around Greenville, Anderson, Spartanburg, Clemson, that's when you're going to be most impacted, is later on tonight. So if you are really worried about these storms and you don't know if you'll be able to sleep, be sure to check in with us. We will be bringing you updates online as well as on the air and through our apps throughout the night. We're not going anywhere. The First Alert Weather Team will ride with you through the storm. We'll continue to monitor the storm in Cherokee and Clay counties in North Carolina, not Cherokee, South Carolina, and we will be watching it for you and let you know if it spreads into any of our counties in North Carolina as well. Coming up, be sure to download the Fox Carolina First Alert Weather app to keep us with you throughout these storms overnight. It's a great way for us to serve you better with these strong storms rolling through at such a scary time when many of us are just trying to sleep. So scan the code on your screen, get the app for free, and that way we can send you those all-important updates, and we'll be back with updates on air later on tonight.
Now your Fox Carolina First Alert weather.
Well, severe thunderstorm warnings continue across the upstate. We're breaking into programming for two reasons. We're getting some strong wind that's working its way into the northern part of Greenville County, and then we're watching a storm that's moving in through Oconee County that has the potential to produce a tornado. It's a severe thunderstorm warning with a tag on it that has tornado possible. We've got a lot of heavy rain from northern Greenville County through Pickens County and Oconee County, and then we're watching a couple areas of rotation, but especially around Seneca, we were seeing some of that just south of 123, the potential for this storm to rotate. We've also seen some areas of rotation back in northeast Georgia as well. I want to put this on a storm track for you so you can kind of see how this is moving. We're also keeping an eye on this area near I-85, a little kink there around Hartwell where we could possibly get a tornado to develop. We haven't had defined enough rotation for a tornado warning to be issued, but I'd like for you to remain indoors, away from windows, stay weather aware as this moves through Clemson, eventually Anderson, Homeland Park, toward Greenville, as well as Malden. So we have this, we're watching this line move through the area. Not only are we watching this one, but Catherine, let's take a look up in northern Greenville County. We can take the storm track off and get a look at what we have going on up here, because we've been picking up on some very strong wind that's that's been rolling through Travelers Rest and getting closer to Greenville and Greer, coming off the mountains. A lot of lightning too. So not only will you hear the wind with this, you're going to hear some rumbles of thunder. Could wake up the kids, scare the pets, have them running under the bed as this rolls through. And the wind is going to be pressing farther south toward the city of Greenville and Taylor's, really kind of bearing down on these spots now. So we're going to potentially see winds gusting at 50 to 60 miles per hour. Right now is getting right on top of Greenville. And let's do a storm track on this line of storms as it continues to push along the 85 corridor and southward at about 25 miles per hour. Just getting an update that we actually have a brand new severe thunderstorm warning for Greenville County as well as Anderson County. So much of the upstate right now under a severe thunderstorm warning at this time. So Greenville 134. So really in the next couple of minutes and right on cue, we heard a really loud rumble of thunder here on the east side of Greenville. Roper Mountain Science Center, Cowpens National Battlefield toward 144, 148 for Spartanburg. But just know that we're monitoring some areas along this line that potentially could produce tornadoes. But the more widespread threat, and we've been talking about this, is the strong wind. But yeah, I'm in here with Catherine Noel as well, so we've got team coverage for you. She's helping to keep an eye on radar and reports, and we'll check in with her in just a second. But notice that the overall line extends from Spartanburg to Greenville through Easley and Pickens, and then we're watching this area down toward Oconee County for the possibility of some rotation within these thunderstorms. But right now, the main impact is the strong wind coming in with it and these lightning strikes. Now you see some that are plus signs. Those are actually positive lightning strikes, meaning that we're looking at those originating very high up in the cloud. They're often some of the loudest of the lightning strikes that produce the loudest thunder and can often be the most dangerous. They're actually some of the most deadly of the lightning strikes out there. But again, thankfully, not a whole lot of folks out, kids out playing this time of night, where we're glad about that. But we are going to be watching this line of storms very, very closely as it continues to move through. So again, watching Easley, Greenville over towards Spartanburg, gusty winds, heavy rain continuing to move into the upstate. And Catherine, I know we've been watching, or keeping in touch with National Weather Service on all this. Have we had any reports or any issues come down from them?
It doesn't really look like it over here. Seeing, I know they did add that tornado possible to the severe warning in northeastern Georgia and Oconee County, like you mentioned. This is something that we just continue to watch. Also, that new severe thunderstorm warning too that you mentioned, that's popped. Actually, a couple of them too. One now over Anderson area, you can see going into the Cross Hill Princeton area, West Pelzer. All of this is going to be moving that way into that southeastern direction. This is that line that we're going to see continue to move on through, even coming through Highland area into Duncan. So we can do a wide look here at exactly what's going to be moving on through and when sort of thing within the Anderson to Lawrence area, because that's exactly where it's headed. So going into the Spartanburg area around 1:39 this morning, Gaffney Peach around 1:40, 1:53 for the Hartwell Dam area, 1:54 for Anderson, and 2:08 for Union. So a lot of us will still be affected by this up until around 2-3 o'clock with this line that's going to be moving on through. And some of the details of these severe thunderstorms, a lot of them are within the same area of those threats of the effects of this too. Those damaging winds are going to be one of them. One of the big ones too that we are seeing with this for the potential. So off towards the Greer area, the one that we have mentioned too, that's moving into Greenville County. I mean, we could see anything. Those strong winds are going to be possible, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and penny-sized hail. So that's something we're going to continue to watch. Hail, damaging winds, tornado risk, all of this still coming into play, Kendra.
Yeah, and again, we're knowing that this is waking up a lot of folks out there, and that's one of the reasons that we wanted to get on the air right now, because not only do we have some very strong thunderstorms affecting pretty much the entire 85 corridor, but there is that possibility that a tornado could develop, especially with the Oconee County storm, the one that's coming in out of Stevens County, and that's what we've been watching following closely. The good news is I haven't seen that rotation tighten up or become more defined at this point, but we are having that. There are a couple areas that we're watching, one near Seneca and the other down near Hart County, Georgia. So some of this where you see the reds and the greens meeting up here, this is areas of at least broad rotation that we're going to keep an eye on. Not really widespread wind, but certainly the potential for rotation to continue to tighten up. As we go farther to the north, you can see around between Clemson and Seneca, we've got some gusty wind moving through, the red and the green coming together. We're not seeing any bright, tight couplets like you would see when a tornado is likely on the ground. So that's one reason we haven't seen a tornado warning issued with this. We want to go on back to classic radar, and you can see the lightning strikes associated with all of this. And we go from Toccoa, seeing multiple strikes there, and extending up toward Oconee County. You can hear it again if you're on the east side of Greenville, really anywhere from Clemson to Spartanburg now. Greer getting a lot of lightning strikes. So again, Toccoa getting blasted with a lot of these positive lightning strikes, which can often be some of the most dangerous. And then as we move on back up into the upstate, let's just kind of take a tour of this line as we stop in Oconee County, Seneca in the thick of some of the heaviest of the rain, and there have been some embedded rotations here just because we're in one of those environments where it's certainly a possibility that a tornado could emerge or develop along this line. But the good news is we are looking at a line of storms, and usually these lines of storms are a little less apt to produce tornadoes. We're more likely to see damaging wind, which is not a good thing either, but is certainly something that, you know, if you're going to pick between the two, often you'd rather get some strong straight line winds. But either way, it's going to be potentially damaging with trees going down around Greenville over toward Easley as that strong wind moves through. In fact, let's put on the velocity. Instead of the storm relative, let's just go to the regular velocity. And you can see the red here. This is the indicator of it, of some of the gusty wind coming out off of Greenville, and some of the brighter greens as well, indicating where we're getting some very strong wind coming down off the mountain after kind of moving through Travelers Rest with some very strong wind gusts. So this is an indication that we've got a wall of wind at about 40 to 50, even 60 miles per hour as this continues to barrel toward the south with time. So this is one of those things where you just want to remain indoors, away from windows as the storm passes. And then as we continue to get new information, we'll continue to bring it to you. But for now, these storms barreling down the 85 corridor, now getting into Spartanburg. Let's put this into loop, Catherine, just to kind of get an idea of how all of this is moving. We have some cells that are like trying to merge, and that's some tornado safety for you too as well. If you want to get to the lowest floor of your home and away from windows and get to that area where you get as many walls between you and the outside as you can. But luckily, again, no tornado warnings. Here we go with the loop, and you can see this is the strongest part of that line as we're getting what we call a bowing segment between Clemson and Hart County, and that's the area where we have the greatest concern for potentially some rotation. They've continued this warning into Anderson and Lawrence, so this is where we may end up with some of the worst in the way of strong winds. But we've had some very gusty wind coming down out of Greenville and Spartanburg too. So Clemson over toward Anderson. This is going to push over toward Townville here shortly. So let's track this line segment as it continues to push at about 25 miles per hour toward Williamston, Princeton, due west, Fountain Inn. That's going to be the area to watch most closely as this storm continues its movement. So in the immediate path of the line of storms and the gusty wind would be Anderson, Hartwell, some communities like Coldwater, Belton as well, Honeypath. So just remain indoors, away from windows. This may be waking you up in the middle of the night, and we're going to be here all night keeping you posted on how this line evolves. But at this point, strong thunderstorms continue, and here's an even more broad track taking that line of storms into Elberton by 2 a.m. Just before that, into the city of Anderson. And then again, the northern part of this line is going to be coming right into Greenville over the next few minutes. So we will be with you. We'll continue to bring you updates through the overnight. Be sure to download the Fox Carolina First Alert Weather app by scanning that code on your screen. And that way we can continue to bring you updates through the night. We'll send updates straight to your phone and also break in on air when necessary. We'll be watching that storm that has that tornado possible tag, which again is for parts of Oconee County. And then we will bring you more information as we get it throughout the overnight. Thanks for sticking with us.